The package sat on the wrong doorstep for exactly 4 minutes before Marcus Hale noticed it. He had been a delivery driver for 7 years, long enough to know every shortcut in the city, long enough to develop the habit of double-checking addresses. He had not double-checked this one. He had been running 40 minutes behind because of the accident on the interstate, because the sorting facility had added 11 extra stops without warning, and because it was raining in the particular sideways way that made every traffic light feel personal. He noticed the mismatch at the end of the block. The number on the package was 4114. The number on the house where he had left it was 4141. He sat in the driver's seat with the rain on the windshield and the engine idling. Then he put the van in reverse. The woman who answered the door at 4114 Alderman Street was old in the way that takes decades to arrive at. Not frail exactly, but careful, the way a person moves when they have learned to account for their own limitations. She wore a blue cardigan over her housecoat and held the doorframe with her left hand. Her name was Edna Marsh. She was 81 years old, and she had lived in that house for 47 years. "I'm sorry to bother you," Marcus said. He held up the package. "I left this at the wrong address. I just came back to get it." She looked at the package. Something moved across her face. Not quite recognition, not quite surprise. Something quieter than both. "That has my name on it," she said. Marcus looked down at the label. Edna Marsh, 4114 Alderman Street. His throat did something complicated. He had been certain about the other house. "I must have misread the number," he said. She looked at him for a moment. Then she said, "Would you like to come in out of the rain?" He should not have gone in. There were 11 more stops and a dispatcher who sent messages in capital letters when drivers ran late. He went in anyway. The house held a life in it the way certain houses do. Not cluttered, but layered. A side table with a lamp and a photograph of a man who was no longer there. A kitchen that smelled faintly of something baked earlier in the day. A cat asleep on a chair who opened one eye, assessed Marcus without concern, and went back to sleep. Edna set the package on the kitchen table and looked at it. "I didn't order anything," she said. Marcus stood in the doorway. "Excuse me? I haven't ordered anything online and I don't even remember. My daughter set up an account for me years ago, but I never really learned how." She touched the label with 2 fingers. "I don't know what this is." Marcus came closer. The return address was a pharmacy distributor, a large one, the kind that processed bulk medical supply orders. He looked at her. "Do you want me to open it?" he asked. She nodded. Inside the box, packed carefully in bubble wrap and nestled in foam, were 6 months of a blood pressure medication, a glucose monitor, and 3 boxes of test strips. There was no note, no invoice, no packing slip of any kind. Edna Marsh sat down slowly at the kitchen table. "My doctor has been after me about the monitor for 2 years, she said. "I kept telling him it wasn't in the budget." Marcus looked at the contents. The glucose monitor alone was not inexpensive. 6 months of blood pressure management for someone without full coverage. He had delivered enough pharmacy boxes to know what that cost. "Is there anyone who might have sent this?" he said. "Family?" She shook her head. "My daughter is in Portland. We don't speak much." She paused. "My son passed 4 years ago." She said it the way people say things they have said many times, not because it had become easy, but because the words had worn smooth with use. "A neighbor?" Marcus asked. "Someone from your church?" "I stopped going to St. Michael's when my hip got bad. 3 years ago." She looked at the monitor and its packaging. "I don't know who would do this. I don't know who would even know." He sat with her 20 minutes. He told himself it was to make sure she was all right, and that was true, but not the whole truth. Something in that kitchen held him, the way she sat at the table with her hands around a cup of tea, the way she looked at the box like someone who had stopped expecting certain things to arrive. Before he left, he asked if she had a way to reach her doctor. "I have his number," she said. "I don't always call. Would you call him today?" Marcus said. "About the monitor. To get properly set up with it." She looked at him for a moment. "You sound like my son." He did not know what to do with that. So he nodded. "I will call," she said. He left his phone number on a torn piece of notepad paper in case she had questions about the delivery, he told her. He told himself that was the reason. He thought about Edna Marsh for the rest of the shift, through 7 more stops, through the rain and the capital letter dispatcher messages, through the long drive back to the facility. He thought about who had sent the box. He ran through it methodically. The pharmacy distributor was legitimate. The medication was specific, not a random selection, but the kind that required knowing what someone was prescribed and what they couldn't afford. That meant someone with information. A former doctor, a pharmacist, someone who had been told directly and had held on to it. He thought about what she had said. I don't know who would even know. That was the part that stayed with him, not the gift itself. He had seen generous things in 7 years of deliveries, but those were things sent by people who had witnessed a need firsthand. This felt different. This felt like the end of a decision made slowly, over a long time, by someone who had thought about Edna Marsh on many ordinary days before finally doing something about it. 3 weeks later, on a route that did not include Alderman Street, Marcus found himself turning down it anyway. She answered faster this time, without holding the door frame. She was using the monitor. She said so before he finished asking. She had called the doctor that same afternoon he left. The doctor had been, in her words, almost annoyingly pleased. Her levels, she reported with quiet satisfaction, were better than they had been in 4 years. "Do you know yet who sent it?" he asked. She shook her head, but she said it differently than the first time. The first time there had been bewilderment in it. Now there was something that had settled, something that had stopped requiring explanation. "I decided it doesn't matter," she said. "What matters is that someone knew. Someone kept track." He sat with that on the drive back. Someone kept track. He had spent 7 years carrying things between people, things ordered, expected, purchased, received. The ordinary commerce of daily life passing through his hands every day at speed. He had rarely thought about what lived between sender and receiver. That quiet geography of attention, of noticing, of deciding to continue noticing long after there was any immediate reason to. He stopped at Alderman Street 4 more times over the following months. Never on a delivery, always on a Tuesday. She made tea. The cat, and whose name turned out to be Gerald, eventually permitted Marcus to scratch behind his ears, which Edna described as a significant development in Gerald's character. In March, a second package arrived. Same distributor, no note. A new prescription her doctor had wanted to try for months, but that hadn't been covered, and inside it, a folded piece of paper bearing a phone number and no name. The number connected to a social services coordinator who had already been informed of Edna's situation and had already begun processing a home assistance application on her behalf. Edna held the paper for a long time after the call. "I don't understand how someone could do this," she said quietly, "without telling me, without wanting me to know." Marcus looked at the paper in her hands. "Maybe," he said. "They didn't do it for you to know. They did it for you to have." Something in her expression shifted. A release of the need to locate the source, to solve it. The person who had been keeping quiet track of Edna Marsh for years had not left a signature, and they were not going to. All they had left was the thing itself, the evidence of sustained attention, the proof that someone had not looked away. The wrong address had been 4141, the right address had been 4114, 2 transposed digits. The difference between a package sitting on the wrong step and Marcus Hale driving away without ever having gone inside. His wife had asked him that first night, "Do you think you made a mistake? Or do you think you were supposed to end up there?" He had said he didn't know. He still didn't. What he knew was this: Edna Marsh was using the monitor. Her levels were better than they had been in 4 years. Gerald had accepted him. And somewhere in the city, someone had spent years noticing an old woman in a blue cardigan on a street they no longer had reason to visit, and had quietly, consistently, invisibly refused to stop. He did not know who that person was. He did not think he was supposed to. Some things are not mysteries to be solved. They are proofs to be lived inside of. Evidence that the world contains more careful attention than it ever announces. that people are watched over by people they will never see. That kindness at its most serious does not wait to be recognized. It just keeps track. It just keeps showing up, even on a rainy Tuesday, even at the wrong address. Never overlook the ordinary Tuesday. The most important door you stand in front of may not have been on your route, and the person behind it may have been waiting, without knowing they were waiting, for exactly this.